Welcome back to the Evolving Hunter podcast, where we talk with hunters, educators, conservation leaders, and everyday outdoors people about what it means to keep learning, keep improving, and keep showing up the right way. Whether you're brand new to hunting or still figuring it out, this show is about growing as hunters, sharing the lessons, and keeping the heritage moving forward. Let's jump into the show. And we are back. Thank you for joining us for another episode of the Evolving Hunter podcast. My name is Jay. I'm thrilled that you've chosen to join us for another episode. I think it's going to be a really great one. We have an outstanding guest with us today, Rachel Crume from the Kentucky Department of Fish and Wildlife Resources. She's the R3 program manager, and I'm thrilled that you're with us today, Rachel. I appreciate it.
Oh, thanks for having me. I'm so happy to be here. We're gonna have a ball.
Absolutely. So we're going to jump into talking about opportunities for newer novice hunters in Kentucky. I think we're going to talk about NASP, which is a National Archeries in the Schools program, a little bit. But we're going to get all to that in just a minute. I do want to jump into the listener questions before we get into all the other good stuff. So if you've been listening to this podcast for a while, you know that we try to do listener questions, which is where listeners send in questions about their journey in starting hunting. Obviously, we're kind of we lean toward the side of helping newer novice hunters, so a lot of them are questions about how to get started. But it's probably my favorite part about doing this podcast is getting to answer questions, and they do, honestly, they help guide me in how I even structure the show a little bit, because we went from getting a few questions here and there to now I get quite a few, and it's my favorite thing to look through and read. So let's jump into a few. Let me pull them up here. I have two today. Both of them I think are kind of in the same vein a little bit. The first one I chose really because this person is in Kentucky, because Rachel is also in Kentucky. But this is an individual, a listener named Megan from Lexington. That's in Kentucky, right? Lexington, Kentucky. Okay, good.
Lexington.
I'm glad
Yep.
I didn't misspeak.
Yep.
So Megan said, "Hi Jay, I passed Hunter Ed last fall, and then I got really into buying gear. Don't we all? But now I've realized that passing a class and actually being ready to go out and hunt are probably two different things. I can shoot pretty decently, but I don't really feel prepared to make decisions in the woods alone quite yet. So my question is, how do you know when you're truly ready for your first solo hunt, and what skills maybe matter more than others?" That's a great question, because I feel like every novice hunter is going to go through that same kind of mindset. Um, Rachel, do you want to take a first crack at what your thoughts on for Megan from Lexington, Kentucky?
Yes, I will. Megan, good for you for putting in the work. I think for a lot of new hunters or people that take hunter ed, it's overlooked how much work hunting is. I mean, it's a passion or a hobby that we're all passionate about, but it's also work. It's not just going out and uh Elmer fudding it, right? So a couple things that I would probably offer to Megan is we have a wonderful Becoming an Outdoors Woman program in our state. Um, and we have a big fall weekend, and there's multiple classes you can choose from. For example, we'll do rifle shooting, uh, trapping, like a learn to deer hunt. So I guess my biggest question would be like what you're wanting to hunt. In Kentucky, my mind directly goes to deer because it's the most popular game that most people pursue. And I would say that knowing when you're ready, I think that's probably a really personal question for each hunter. I would think that the most important thing is going to be just safety in the woods. So if you took hunter education and you're following all the rules and regulations, we're wearing hunter orange during our modern firearm or muzzleloader seasons, and doing all the safety aspects. Most importantly, if we are going to take a shot, like identifying our target first and knowing what's beyond it. That's really super important. But if you feel really comfortable with all of those aspects and you just want to go out in the woods by yourself, you don't have to take a shot. There's no like rule that says when you go hunting, like you're required to shoot. It could be you're gonna go hunting and you just wanna learn about woodsmanship. You wanna learn your trees, see where the deer sign is, trails are and that sort of thing. But if you're asking the question, then my mind goes, maybe you don't feel comfortable enough to go by yourself yet. And I would tell you we have plenty of mentorship opportunities with the Department of Fish and Wildlife too. So you can join our Becoming Outdoors Woman Facebook page, like and follow that. We'll share all of the upcoming classes that we have. When you can reach out to me directly and I can pair you with a mentor, that will just get you out and exploring and kind of filling you out of where you are or what you want to learn. Um, the majority of folks in our state that are new hunters, we see that they feel really comfortable with everything up to the shot, and then post shot is where they tend to get really uncomfortable with the field dressing, the processing the game, and all of, the after part of the hunt, the most important part, I think, but, we offer a lot of processing demonstrations. We have a ton on our website, on our YouTube, channel too, but we also offer a lot of, like, hands-on demos so people can learn how to field dress game, and what they need to do with it afterwards. So, um, that was a really long-winded answer, Jay. But, Megan, for anybody else out there listening, if you're in Kentucky, please reach out. We wanna help you. We want you all to feel comfortable in the woods, and we'll do whatever we can to make that happen.
I love how directly, like, pertinent this is, right? This listener is in Kentucky, and you are the person that can help them. I love it. I love everything about it. But, yeah, I think you're spot on. Like, um, I think I can understand how it could be intimidating to say, "Okay, I have to piece all of these skills together at once to feel confident in going hunting." Not really, right? Like, sometimes hunting is just taking your firearm on a walk, and that's okay. Or, you don't even have to take a firearm with you. Like, just go out and go scouting. Totally cool. And get really familiar with the area that you think you wanna go hunting. Make a plan, right? Like, pick a spot that you think is pretty good and go scout the hound out of it. Sit there, walk there, get really comfortable. And so I feel like it could be a lot less intimidating, right? When you do go there for your hunt. And uh, it's just kind of pulling that, the pun intended, pulling the trigger, or just to kind of go and say, if I may not even shoot, I'm not going to shoot anything today, and that's totally fine. But also finding ways to take classes with the state agency, which are absolutely fantastic resources. I've mentioned this resource on the show before too. The International Hunter Education Association has a program called learnhunting.org, and they have mentors that you can go and reach out to uh, across the country and as well as in Kentucky. One of the things that in my mind I think works out really well is when folks go and take lots of programs from the state agency. That kind of gives you a base, and then start looking for a mentor, right? Because then you kind of got more kind of personalized, like, um, uh, continued help. And so I think that'd be a great option for you, Megan. But Megan, if I can be helpful in any way, if you want to shoot me, if you have follow up questions, don't hesitate to send me an email, and I can either answer your question, or B, help you find someone to connect with, like Rachel, that can provide more direct on the ground assistance. But thank you for sending in your question, and good luck. I'm not sure what you're doing. I think I got your email a week or so ago. So it's spring turkey season in Kentucky, right? Is the season open? So
Mhm.
hope we're out there. Listen to some birds. All right. So next question is from a listener named Carlos in Texas. Carlos said, "I did not grow up outdoors, so I'm trying to learn everything from podcasts, YouTube, forums, and social media. Whew. The problem is everybody sounds so certain in what they're saying, and a lot of that advice directly contradicts each other. I should scout more. I should scout less. I should sit longer. I should move more. I should hunt only in the morning, but I should also only hunt at night or in the evening. Sorry. How does a beginner know what advice that I should trust without wasting a lot of time on bad information?" That's a great question, Carlos. And as um, I think it's important to realize that a lot of folks putting out media in this form, they're really trying to find something to sound interesting with. And they're also probably live in different areas than you, and they're hunting maybe differently than you, or maybe they have more experience than you, and so they're doing things a little differently. And of course, they're going to be convinced that that's the way that you should do things because that may have worked for them. But that doesn't answer your question about how do you know what to trust, right? But I think the kind of going back to the same thing with the question from Megan, uh, is to maybe hang up the old YouTube. I'm going to say podcast, but not this podcast. You can keep listening, right? But hang that up a little bit and actually go out and take advantage of the programs that your state agency has for novice hunters. Find a mentor, things like that. You're in Texas. Texas has outstanding programs that uh, that are specifically designed to help novice hunters. Carlos, you can look on their website, but if you can't find it, again, shoot me an email, the same email that you wrote to here, and I'll connect you directly with the people that are it's their job, right? It's their passion, their job, everything to help novice hunters. So that really would be I think the best route. I understand it gets really confusing when you start looking at like popular media to figure out how to hunt because there's information everywhere. It's an overload of information. Absolutely. Um, I'm I've developed a large interest in golf, which I know is very anti what I've always stood for, but I've gotten to really like golf, and I am in the trying to learn golf via YouTube. It's terrible. It's absolutely awful, and I can imagine it'd be the same way for hunting. But Rachel, do you have something to add to that for Carlos?
Carlos, the only thing I was thinking of, because I love spending time outdoors. So when we're home inside, we're typically watching like hunting or fishing shows, and I think people give advice based on their experiences, and everybody's experience is different in the woods. So like, if they're giving you advice, for example, I'm thinking about turkeys here because it's turkey season in Kentucky. You may have some people that say, "Don't call a lot, sit in a blind with decoys, don't move, blah blah blah. It's how I killed a bird or harvested a bird a couple days ago." And then you may have somebody else say, "No, you need to like run around and set up on them and do that." And it's just because they had probably success with one of those ways of pursuing a turkey. And I don't I don't know if there's like as long as it's ethical, there's not a right or a wrong way, if that makes sense. It's just what's worked for them. So that's the advice they're going to give you. Um, I would tell you that starting with a state agency is probably the best way to go for all new hunters because you're going to get the background on biology, habitat, and then rules and regulations of how we're required to do things. So that's the only thing I had to add, Jay. But good luck, Carlos.
Good luck, Carlos, and thanks for sending in your question. Again, if you have follow-up questions or you want more information specifically in Texas, shoot me an email, and I'll do my best to help you. I feel like I should have named this podcast something different. I should have named it "Reach Out to Your State Agency," and that'd be it. Call your state agency. Every week I come out with an episode, and it's just said, "Hey, reach out to your state agency," because I feel like that's the answer to so many of these questions. Is like your state agency, your state fish, wildlife, whatever it's called in your state, has tons and tons of resources, and I can see why that people may not necessarily recognize that because for a lot of folks, their only interactions with their state agency are with game wardens, right? And because they're out there, right? They're out in the public driving the green truck around, wearing the green pants, and and walking around checking your licenses. And so I understand that, but on the other side, there are within your whatever state you live in, where I can say with confidence, there's a whole other side of your state game, wildlife, natural resources, whatever it's called in your state. There's a whole other side with huge teams of people that are just passionate and super stoked to help people find their way in hunting. So maybe I'll just change it right now. Evolving Hunter Podcast is now changed to just call your state agency. Look it up. No, but you can Google it, right? Go look up the Hunter Ed programs in your state. That usually, if you land on that web page, you can start to find events in your area, and then find what might work for you. So good deal. Well, thanks for sending in questions. If you have a question that you'd like to have answered on the Evolving Hunter podcast, please, I would love it if you sent me an email. It is community, COMMUNITY, at evolvinghunter.com. Send in your question, comments, concerns, hopes, dreams, whatever. I like to read things. Send it in, and I'd love to answer it on the show. If you're listening to this podcast, there's a good chance that you're either thinking about hunting for the first time or trying to get better at it. Either way, you need to start with the right foundation. And that's why I'm so excited for the Evolving Hunter podcast to be partnering with CertifiedHunter.com. Certified Hunter offers state-approved online hunter education that's built for real people, not just test takers. You'll learn firearm safety, ethical decision-making, wildlife conservation, and what it actually means to be a responsible hunter in the field. And here's the part that matters most. This isn't about checking a box. It's about showing up prepared, confident, and safe when the season opens. I didn't grow up hunting. I started later in life, and I can tell you firsthand that having clear, practical training makes a huge difference. Certified Hunter helps shorten the learning curve and sets you up to do this the right way from day one. So, if you're ready to take your first step into hunting, or you know someone who is, head to certifiedhunter.com/evolving hunter and get started today. Again, that's certifiedhunter.com/evolving hunter, and let's start the right way. Oh, so question segment done. I'm excited to have a chance to kind of get to know more about your story in hunting, as well as more about what you're doing in Kentucky. So if you can kind of kick us off, just really kind of an introduction, folks that listen that may not know you, who you are, what you do, what your background is, kind of free for all. Get us going.
That sounds good, Jay. So my name's Rachel Crume. I'm the R3 program manager for the Department of Fish and Wildlife in Kentucky. So I oversee our Learn to Hunt and Fish programs for adults, our National Archery in the Schools program, Becoming Outdoors Woman, range access, and hunter education. And it was kind of by happenstance that I got involved in the Department of Fish and Wildlife, but I was an adult onset hunter. My dad or mom did not hunt. We grew up fishing lakes around Kentucky, but um, just was never exposed to it all. My mom's brother, my uncle, was a really avid bird hunter. He was big into turkey hunting and like upland game. And he would take my brother that's older than me hunting a lot. And that just drove a passion for my brother. He was always hunting and fishing. And he would always ask me to tag along, which was lovely as a kid, but I was really involved in sports. And so I just didn't have the time. I think it probably similar to what a lot of youth have to deal with these days to, get out in the woods and spend time. It's hard when you're playing travel sports and that sort of thing. So after I graduated high school, I finally agreed to go with my brother and he took me and I harvested my first white-tailed deer and that's how I got started hunting was white-tailed deer. And I was super, super, super excited about it. And I think my biggest hesitation was our modern firearm season just didn't last long enough for me. I wanted more opportunity. But we're really blessed in our state. In Kentucky, we have a really long archery whitetail season. So it opens the first Saturday in September. Um, Probably if they're if you're listening, we got a lot of people harvest velvet deer here in our state. But our archery season runs all the way until Martin Luther King Day in January. So super long, lots of opportunities.
Super long.
Yeah, yeah.
Wow.
And so, I was telling my brother, I really like this deer hunting thing, but I wanna do it more, and he was like, "Well, you gotta go get a bow." Well, the gentleman that set up my bow is now my husband, so we met at the archery shop. It was like a true love bow hunting story. Anyways, that's how we met. We started dating, and, really got super passionate about archery hunting for deer. And so I did that for a number of years, would spend a lot of time outside doing that. And during that time, I was working actually for the Kentucky Fish and Wildlife Foundation. It's a nonprofit organization. We raise money to get kids outside through conservation camps and other programs. Um, And then more recently, I took a position with the Department of Fish and Wildlife in my current role. And so we're really just trying to recruit people outside. So if you listen to Jay's podcast in the past, you probably are familiar with R3, but it's recruitment, retention, and reactivation. So we're really just trying to get people outside hunting and fishing. That's our goal. All as our hunters are aging out, we're trying to fill in from below different age demographics and stuff. But um, then just keep talking, Jay. You can tell me to stop at any
No,
second. But
you're good.
in 2020, well, the end of 2019, this is a little personal, but I think it's good to share. I was diagnosed like right during all the COVID stuff with breast cancer. And so through those surgeries, I really didn't have an opportunity to shoot my bow anymore. And my husband and I don't have children. And I'm like, man, what am I going to do all fall? And so I got a tracking dog, and that's my true passion now. I track wounded big game for hunters. So for new hunters, I wanna just share that this is a resource nationally, but it's United Blood Trackers and, so a lot of passionate dog handlers, and so if you shoot a deer and for whatever reason you have a horrible blood trail or no blood trail, then I would just recommend calling a dog tracker in to see if they could help you locate your big game. So I love turkey hunting, Jay. That's what I'm into in the spring and training dogs, but, yeah, that's kinda how I got started, and I really have a passion now for taking other people out hunting and fishing, so I feel
What
like
an
that was really
intro.
long-winded.
Yeah, a lot to unpack there.
Yeah.
I'll start at the beginning. I didn't know that you were an adult onset hunter. You're part of the
Mhm.
club of adult onset hunters. I
Yep.
like it. I like
Yep.
that club because
Yeah.
I'm also in that club. I didn't start hunting
Yeah.
until I was almost 30 or so. So that's cool. Well, so as you've so how long how many years have you been hunting?
I was probably 18 or 19. I think I was
Okay.
18 'cause it was just right out of high school, so a young adult, and, I'm 41, so 22, 3 years, something like that, been hunting.
Wow. So you've
And
been
I have
hunting
to
so
say
quite a long time.
quite a long time, but I will say too, like, and this is like, I think super important to share. I don't think enough people share this, but my first 5 years of bow hunting, I mean, I didn't know if I was ever gonna be able to harvest a deer with my bow. I mean, it just was not gonna work out. I just felt like I had this black cloud over me, and, um, I think that, a lot of stuff we see on social media now, it's like all of, our glory shots are success stories, and, that's not reality,
No.
It's not, going out and just guaranteed to harvest something, but, I think that if you're, like, trusting the process and, like, appreciating all of it, then it's, maybe a little more rewarding, but
Yeah. No, we talk about all the time, particularly for new or novice hunters, that if harvesting an animal is your sole source of motivation, you're probably not going to stay in it real long because you're going to go through, particularly if you're new, you're going to go through a dry spell for a while. But I mean, even experienced hunters go through times where you may not harvest anything in a season. That's part of it. So it's about finding those motivations that, I mean, harvesting an animal is certainly a great motivation, but it can't be the only motivation, right? Like there's to be some things that you really enjoy about hunting that isn't putting food on the table necessarily, but the experience, the connection with nature, the fellowship with fellow hunters, right? All those sort of things also play a really large role in kind of keeping people engaged. Yeah, for sure. Um, I also did not know, and I am uh, fascinated by the story that you married your bow fitter.
yeah, yeah,
I love that.
yeah, yeah,
That's really cool.
yeah, that's sweet. Yeah, he's still a super passionate bow hunter, so, we don't see a lot of each other in the fall because 'cause I'm trying to help so many hunters track their deer or whatever, and he's spending so much time in a tree stand, but, we make up the time in the spring fishing together and turkey hunting, so it works out,
Yeah.
so
So how does it work? So what is like a specific breed of dog that you train that's better for blood tracking than others, or is it?
No, I think that's my favorite part. If you go to, like, a UBT event, you'll see all different types of breeds of dogs. So, um, I'm really partial to wire hair Dachshund, so that's what I mainly run. I have a bloodhound too, but my wire hairs are typically what I run. So, big wiener dogs that are wiry. That's pretty much
Yeah.
what they are. Um,
Yeah,
and so but you'll see all types, labs, bloodhounds, Bavarian Mountain Scent Bavarian hounds, a lot of hound breeds, but yeah, all different types. I've seen GSPs and Mals and all kinds of stuff.
that's awesome.
Yeah, it's
How
really
does it
fun.
work in, like, so someone shoots a deer, they can't find it, they just give you a call and you jump in a vehicle and go, or how does that work?
So I think my favorite part about learning and tracking is I thought I knew quite a bit about deer hunting, so I had a lot of experience bow hunting and stuff, and tracking really taught me so much more than I would ever have imagined. But really, if you're a new hunter and shoot a deer, can't find it, you're going to call a tracker and we're going to ask you questions about deer behavior after the shot. What does your arrow look like if you were bow or cross or what your bolt look like if you were crossbow hunting? A bunch of different questions, and we're trying to evaluate if we think the shot's lethal, and then how long it may take that deer to expire based on where the shot placement was. Our goal is to track a deer once it's expired. So if we think it may need a little bit of time, we'll tell you, "Hey, we need to wait this long." But then there's some times where, it's unfortunate, but maybe the shot is not gonna be lethal and the deer's gonna survive and be fine. We'll share that information with you too, but it's always good to have a dog just to double check, because we never really 100% know until we get out there on the track. So, the super big benefit about having a tracker's phone number in your back pocket is we're always happy to answer any questions that hunters have. Um, when I was bow hunting pretty passionately, maybe I went on 4 or 5 blood trails a year. The majority of handlers are doing at least I would say like passionate handlers are doing anywhere from 30 to 100 plus a year.
Holy
So
smokes.
we're seeing a lot of sign and information and um it's we're just really blessed to be able to get that knowledge behind our dogs too.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
So,
So
when you go to track, are you putting, like, a single dog on, or you have, like, a group of dogs that are working the track?
so each state's a little different. If you go to unitedbloodtrackers.org, you can look up there's still a couple states that aren't legal for wounded big game recovery with dogs. In Kentucky, we're required to be on lead. So I run a 30-foot lead on my dog so they can work out in front of me. And,
Mhm.
sometimes they're circling around and checking scent and that sort of thing. But no, we're usually here in Kentucky running one dog at a time. Some states like Texas, they can run dogs off lead to track wounded deer, so they may run more than one dog, but for most on lead states, it would just be one dog at a time. Yeah.
So so I've got a ton of questions about this, I just
No,
think it's really
please.
interesting. So the process for training them is just helping them to identify a scent and then rewarding when they track it? I mean, is it how long does it take usually a dog to kinda go from just not a blood tracker to a blood tracker?
So first, they have to want to. They have to have like good prey drive and want to. But that probably the easiest way I can describe it is typically and this is in high deer density areas. So I'm going to just talk about me and whitetail deer. It's varied based on species you're tracking, but deer have interdigital glands in their front hooves. It's one like scent gland that they put out, same as like their other glands, like um, having a brain fart, tarsal glands that
Mhm.
bucks will share all their lovely scents with the ladies, right? Um, so it's a stress scent that they're putting out. And that's how we train our dogs. But what's most important is we're training our dogs to take that specific scent, even if there's newer, fresher deer scent over top of it. So they have to learn that that specific older scent is where they're going to get the reward and make the decision to stay on that line instead of like, oh, there was a fresh deer here a minute ago. I think I'm going to run after that one. So I think it's like maturity for dogs. It takes a little bit for them to like get that part, but, um, did that answer your question, Jay?
Yeah. Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Does it how long does that I mean, that I know it probably varies by dog, but is that a years of training to get to that spot or
Say at least 2 to 3 years of training, and we're training in the off season, but then really, I mean, our dogs are getting better based on the number of tracks that we're taking during season for hunters and family and ourselves too. So, the more experience a dog has, the better they're gonna be. No, completely the same as, like, a duck dog that's seeing hundreds of birds shot over top of them a season versus, like, a guy that has a lab and maybe can get it out just a couple weekends a year, you know?
Yeah, yeah,
So I think that's what makes the big difference, just
that's
experience that way,
that's
but
super cool.
yeah.
I've always had a real interest in dog training. We had a when I was my wife and I, we were much younger in our relationship, we decided to help with the Guide Dog Foundation. They train seeing eye dogs, and, we were trying to be puppy raisers, where you actually get a puppy, they bring you a puppy, and you have it for, like, a year or 2, depending on the breed, and kinda get them set up with certain skills, but we basically just became we were just babysitters, so sometimes they would wanna, like, take a dog to a different handler for a week or 2, maybe a month, so they can get used to other people's, commands, and it this always blew me away what those dogs would, like, be trained to do. It was incredible, like, I didn't even know you could train dogs to do some of those things. Like intentional disobedience where, they're obedient all the time unless they think it would be dangerous to be obedient, right? In which case, they would choose to ignore your command. Like, like, if you're trying to cross the street and you're like, "Let's go," and it's like, "No, I'm not gonna go. There's a car
There's a
coming,"
car
right?
coming. Yeah.
Yeah. Always blew me away. So that I've always had interested in, like, how people train. Uh, we were not training dogs to do that. We never got to that, like, level of doing that, but I've always found that super interesting to train dogs to do different tasks. It's a pretty incredible thing.
So, it's funny that you say that because I think with a tracking dog, like a stubborn dog is pretty good too, because as much as I hate to admit this, but I mean, it's just true. There's sometimes that, like, we think as handlers, like, "No, I don't think this deer did that." Right? Like, this just doesn't make any sense. And, that our dogs prove us wrong. So if you have a stubborn dog that's like, "No, it went this way," they're gonna be, like, really direct with their behaviors and what they're showing you.
Mhm.
And if you have a dog that's, like, really good at just wants you to love them and, really care, it's almost better to have kind of a turd dog that's like, "No, mom, you're wrong. We're going this way," if that makes sense. So,
Yeah.
um, yeah, a little stubbornness is really goes a long way when it comes to tracking dogs. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
That's funny.
Yeah,
Uh,
always like, as soon as we think like, "Oh, no, this isn't wrong," and then our dogs prove us wrong, we're like, "Yeah, well, we're the, dope at the end of the line." Once again, they know best, so
yeah.
it's pretty fun.
So you're going out and doing 30, 40 trackings a season?
Yeah, well, like, working, it's hard, but, I think last year we did around 40. I try to average about 50 a season, something like that. I would love to get to 100 a season. I have a lot of buddies that are able to do that many, but, most of them have different work schedules or retired, so it makes it a little bit easier, but
I
yeah.
was gonna say because as a person who works, in a hunting division for your state, that's also a busy time of year,
Right.
for you. So
Yeah.
that's a busy season for you,
Mhm.
um,
Mm.
on the
Yeah.
go for sure.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's really cool. How long have you worked with the agency?
I've been with, the agency since 2021, so in this position, so just a little over 5 years. Previously, I was the director for the Kentucky Fish and Wildlife Foundation, so I was doing fundraising and still working alongside of the agency for a lot of their educational programs, but not directly for the agency, if that makes sense.
Hmm.
So
Were you with the agency when we were doing tag?
yes.
You were already
Yeah.
at the because that was a
Mhm.
long time ago, I feel like,
Yeah,
we were doing
that
tag.
was, like, right when I started with the agency, so,
Okay, that makes sense.
um, I think the probably the benefits because I worked alongside of the agency for so long with a lot of these programs and, so, I had a pretty decent background on the agency and their role and that sort of stuff, so
Got ya. that makes sense. I
Right.
should give some context there. TAG was a group that was formed by, now that I've said it, was a group formed by the Council to Advance Hunting and Shooting Sports. We actually had Tanaya Bethke on the show 4 or 5 episodes ago. And it was a group that they put together of folks to come together to talk about R3, really. And it was super fun. I loved it because it was the most like come together with a bunch of folks who work in this industry to just kind of like think tank your way through things. And I was very new to the hunting industry at that time, like brand new, and I got an opportunity to do it, and so it was a lot of fun. But anyways,
It was a great experience for sure. Yeah. I learned a
yeah,
ton. Yeah. It
yeah,
was good.
and ultimately the goal was to create like a guide, a document, a practitioner's guide is what it became called, for R3 practitioners to utilize to kind of create some greater consistency of R3 practices across the country. So, and it did. That's what they came out with, a practitioner's guide. But um, that's a little niche of a niche for this episode for this show.
Sure.
Had to provide some context there. Awesome. So I'm curious. We're going to jump right into this side. If I were and we already talked about it a little bit with the questions from the listeners. If I were a new hunter in Kentucky and I really want to learn how to hunt, what would be kind of um, your roadmap that you would make for them through the agency or whatever the case may be to kind of to get started?
I would My advice to people that are interested in hunting is to always start with hunter education in our
Mm,
state. It's required to go, but I think it gives somebody, like, the best foundational knowledge that they need, to get started, um, and you have to devote time to it. So, I mean, I think that, there's there there's just no I don't wanna say it's hard, but you're gonna have to devote time if you wanna learn to hunt and really pursue that lifestyle. So, I would think hunter education and then follow that up based on what you're interested in learning about. And I think this part, in my mind, is like the coolest part because we have so many different opportunities in our state. So there's opportunities for squirrel hunting, rabbits. You can tie in dogs with a lot of our hunting that we're doing with squirrels or rabbits. Both of those are big, raccoons. Um, Deer or turkey are what most people think of as, like, our most popular, outdoor pursuits, but we just have so many. So I would just think about what you're most interested in, and then we will, of course, have classes, around that. So from there, I would look at our Learn to Hunt classes. We have a program that's called Field to Fork, and it varies based on the time of year. So typically, like, we're in turkey season, so we wouldn't be offering turkey learn to hunt programs right now. That would have happened couple months ago to kind of get people prepared for the season. So think about what hunting you want to learn. Um, and then there's also mentorship opportunities. So we Kentucky's on, Jay mentioned it before, but learnhunting.org where we can pair you up with a mentor. Um, but sometimes I think it's good to just have a buddy that's interested in it too, or a girlfriend that wants to learn too. And learning it together seems to be like a really good road for a lot of new hunters too. Just having somebody that you can learn with and share with, I think is important. So it doesn't necessarily have to be a mentor that's taking you. It could just be like a hunting partner or somebody that wants to learn alongside of you. I do think it's good to not feel like you're trying to figure it all out on your own because it's super overwhelming. It's a lot of information, but I would think start with hunter education, figure out what you're most interested in, and also know that um like, I'm gonna give one example of a lady that took one of our classes in the past. She tried a bunch of different stuff. She came to bow or one of our learn to fish programs, and then kinda, like, ventured through some of our other program offerings, like a turkey hunting field to fork workshop and then maybe deer hunting too, and then she got tied in with some organizations within her state. So there's also other great organizations that are offering learn to hunt programs. But she got tied in with a local fish and game club and learned about trap shooting and really fell in love with that, and then was like, "You know what? I think I'm gonna get upland dogs." So then she got upland dogs, and it was just this whole full circle thing. Like, she started with the fishing portion and then kinda learned about deer and turkey, but then really, like, found her niche in, like, the upland dogs. That's what she enjoyed the most. Um, and so I think also, like, keep an open mind that, "Okay, maybe I'm gonna try turkey hunting," and for whatever reason, it's not really my thing. I don't like the cold mornings and the hot afternoons or the potential rain here or whatever. Whatever, it's not your flavor. I think that's, like, totally normal for people to, like, dabble in different parts of hunting and then having, like, the one that really drives them to continue on, if that makes sense. So,
Yeah, for sure, for sure. How if so, if someone who hasn't even looked into like sort of even Hunter Ed, how c- can they take Hunter Ed in Kentucky?
great question. So, in Kentucky, we're still required to have an in-person range component. It's required in legislation, regulation, so by law. Um, so, couple options. You can do your like classroom portion online. We have a few different offerings for online program, and then you can attend an in-person range portion, or you can come to like a full like old school hunter ed class. And I say old school because that's how most people have done it in the past, but it's gonna be a classroom portion. We're gonna go through all of the information that you would still learn on your online class, and then the range component will be at the end of that day. So, classroom in person, or you can do, like, a hybrid online with a range portion.
And considering that I work in Hunter Ed, we surprisingly have not talked about Hunter Ed a whole lot in this show. Like, what are what's the background, the purpose of hunter education? What are the things that you're going to walk away with when you take hunter education?
Well, so in Kentucky, we've switched up things like a little bit. We actually just redid our hunter education book and PowerPoint for a lot of our volunteers to deliver our program. But you're going to get the safety background, all the educational portions for habitat management and why, how, and why we set hunting seasons the way we do in our state. All that information, all the rules and regs. And really, our goal for Hunter Ed is just to make hunting as safe as possible. The reason we don't call it hunter safety is because we can't guarantee that you're going to listen to what we tell you in Hunter Ed classes. But our goal is for you to just get educated and learn as much as possible, and feel safe and make good decisions when you're outdoors pursuing game.
For sure. Yeah, Hunter Ed, uh, it's amazing if you look at things historically, like in um, big picture views. Hunter Ed came about in the 50s, late 40s, early 50s, I think, right after like folks started coming back from World War II. Hunting had a huge boom, and then there was also a boom of hunting incidents and people getting hurt or injured or killed or whatever the case may be while hunting. And so the idea of creating mandated training came about to teach safety principles while hunting. And it's incredible to see if you look at numbers like incident numbers from the 50s, 60s, and then look at incident numbers now, even nationally, not even just statewide, then you'll see how effective hunter education has been as a tool to reduce hunting incidents. And it always surprises me. Um, Again, I've worked in the hunter industry for now for a while, and I've had a lot of conversations about hunter ed as a barrier and what should we even do it, and all the people are getting hurt because yada yada. But if you look at the big picture, it's incredibly effective at helping hunters to really learn that safety part. So um, you know, I speak to folks sometimes and say, and they'll say, well, we had 3 people get hurt because we are offering hunter ed in one way or the other, whatever the case may be. Like the moral of the story is you don't have 3 people in your entire. I mean, granted, zero is great, zero is the ideal, but like that's incredible out of the thousands of people that go out, and hundreds of thousands of people that go out and hunt in your state potentially. Then they only have you know small amount of incidents, and I'm not trying to downgrade them or discredit them in any way, but it's really incredible. But I think one thing that's really important to know for newer novice hunters that maybe have not taken hunter ed yet is it really is focused on the safety side. It's like your first step into hunting is to learn the safety. There's some content in hunter ed that's like wildlife identification, um, you know, hypothermia, that kind of stuff. But by and large, it is firearm safety and how to operate in a outdoor remote environment utilizing firearms to hunt. And so, yeah, it's a great program. There's also a lot of states have bow hunter ed. Some states have trapper education, and then of course, depending on where you live, there's like different mandated parts of it. Almost all states require some form of hunter ed, but not all states require bow hunter ed or trapper ed. But it's important to look at your rules and regulations. Look it up online to see what is needed. One thing is you won't be able to buy a license in most states unless you have that hunter ed number. So that would be a great way to find out. Like you go to buy your license, you don't have a hunter ed number, so you can't buy your license. So, but yeah, just a little plug for hunter ed there.
The one thing that we added, like, kinda new in the last year in Kentucky too, is we recognize that, we have a lot of kids, like, with parents that hunt or taking them hunting
Mhm.
and hunter ed classes, but more so now we're getting a lot of adult onset hunters attending our hunter ed classes. So, in addition, we're also offering, like, what other resources we have for next steps and learning through your hunting journey or whatever.
That's a great idea.
Trying to do a
Yeah,
good job here.
yeah, that's a great idea. Um, I think hunter ed is. I've said this billions of times, but hunter ed is the first really meaningful interaction that our industry has with newer novice hunters or with new hunters. Um, and so I love to see when states are really trying to capitalize on that opportunity, right? Because your first really your first contact point, and so to build out programs that yes, teach the safety part, that first step, but also they're walking out of that hunter ed course knowing, okay, this is what's next, right? It's not just kind of this up in the sky. I completed hunter ed. Now what? Kind of like the question we had, earlier today. So, um, it's. I think that's really really important. This is I have to be careful here. This is a soapbox for me. I could talk about how to, the old Jay's ideas on leveraging hunter ed to grow our industry for a little too long. So trying to avoid it. Hey folks, Jay here. Just taking a short break from the show to let you know about something that I am really excited about. My first few times chasing turkeys, I wasn't learning. I was just repeating the same mistakes, but just in different woods. Hearing birds, getting close, and then blowing it without really knowing why. That can be a really frustrating part about turkey hunting. It's not always obvious what you're doing wrong. As you know, we are proudly partnered with CertifiedHunter.com. Their hunter education course is designed to help you learn how to safely get out into the woods as a hunter with confidence. But they've also just started developing courses to help you learn more about hunting specific species. I had the honor to help them to develop their newest course called Turkey Hunting Fundamentals. This online course is designed to help bring clarity to turkey hunting, how birds move, how to set up on them, when to push, when to sit tight. All that stuff can actually really change outcomes. So, if you're new or if you're just tired of guessing, I promise you it's worth your time. If you want to check it out, go to certifiedhunter.com/courses to get started. All right, let's jump back into the show. So I know you have hunting programs, but you also do a lot to help people getting into angling, right?
That's right. So, coming up in Kentucky, we have a trout fishing webinar that's going to be coming up soon. So, we're really blessed. We have a national fish hatchery down at Hatchery Creek down on the dam of Lake Cumberland, and those fish are stocked all over our state. And so we're gonna do a trout webinar program where you can just join online, you do it from wherever, at the ball field or whatever else while you're watching your kids play ball or whatnot. But we'd love to have you come join us if you go to our website, fw.ky.gov, and you click on education. That's where you'll find all of our educational offerings. Um, but the cool part is you attend the webinar and then you'll get invited on a fishing trip. So we'll actually go back and fish together and kinda show you how and where and all those sorts of things. So that part I'm really excited about. We had big success with that last year. Additionally, we'll have hook and cooks, and so those
I
programs
love
similar
that
to
name.
Field and Thank you. Similar to
Looking
Field
cool.
to Fork, we're gonna go through everything. It'll be like introduction to fishing, like basic fishing skills you need to know how to tie a knot, how to get a fish off, all that stuff. And then we'll roll into like the processing part, which we had talked about just a little bit ago, how that seems to be like the biggest barrier for a lot of hunters, and same with anglers too. So we're gonna actually get our hands dirty. We're gonna clean fish together, and then we have a program that we partner with the University of Kentucky on. It's called Cook Wild Kentucky, through their extension program, and we're gonna give you a bunch of recipes, kind of tell you how to cook your fish and all that stuff. So it's kind of the full circle thing. And we do the exact same thing on the hunting side with that Cook Wild program. Got all kinds of wild game recipes that we'd love to share with you all and have you taste them and see what you like the best. So,
That's really cool. And I mean, we're coming into summer now, so a lot of hunting seasons are coming to. I mean, we have spring turkey season going on now, but that's going to come to a close. And then really, there's not often a lot of seasons during the summer, so it really is about it's about to be fishing time for a lot of folks. So that makes a ton of sense. That's really cool. So I also wanted to touch on. You mentioned that you are the NASP coordinator. Is that your official like you serve as a NASP coordinator for Kentucky?
no, so, I it's NASP is just in my branch for the
Yeah, yeah.
agency. So Lisa Johnson is our NASP coordinator. She's wonderful. Um, but she oversees NASP for the entire state of Kentucky, which is actually where it started here. And she does a fabulous job. Last year, we had like I don't wanna I mess up numbers a lot, but I know it was well over 120,000 kids that shot NASP in Kentucky schools for the
That's
school year.
nuts.
So,
Wow.
she's killing it. She does a great job. We recently had our NASP state tournament. It was wonderful. Our 3D is, like, really shot up with the amount of participation. We have kids shooting, like, the 3D NASP range, so that's super exciting, and then next week, we actually Kentucky will host, I think it's called the Easter Nationals. That's what it used to be called. So we'll have, like I think they told me it was, like, a little less than 16,000 students coming to shoot in that. That'll be really good.
That
Happy to
is
have.
really cool. So for folks who don't know, could you kinda give a rundown of, like, what NASP is?
Yeah, so NASP is National Archery in the Schools program. It's a school-based program, so in order for schools to have a team that competes, um, they're required to give every child the opportunity to shoot in gym class or whatever in school. So it's an in-school program where they're gonna learn archery, um, and then in addition to that, they could also have a team that competes, in, like, regional and local tournaments and then potentially state and national tournaments. So
It's, I've sat in a lot of presentations, NASP speaking at conferences and meetings, and it is pretty mind-blowing when they provide their metrics about how many kids are participating in NASP nationally. I mean, it's like in the millions of kids that participate in archery shooting, through their schools. It really is pretty incredible, and kids get super into it. And I always find it interesting that they all shoot the same bow, right? I always thought that was genius. Whoever like had the idea, like, okay, this is the bow that everyone will shoot from now till whenever, right? Like, and so it really creates some interesting consistency across the board and a shared experience for each of the kids because they're all operating with the exact same, equipment and There's no one that's coming in, well, I have the super fancy bow, right? That's going to be, have a leg up on someone else. They're all on the same level shooting. I've always thought that was super cool. Yeah,
It is super cool, Jay, and I think my 2 things I like, I think, most about NASP is, you can have a jock senior in high school male that's just, like, stud athlete, right? Shooting next to, like, a little middle school girl, and it makes no difference. They're still starting from the same spot, so, um th there's, I think it's just, like, super welcoming to all, and, it is not similar to, like, your really competitive sports that we see, and so I like that a lot, and then like, reversing years ago, because we had NASP during this time, but when I met my husband, I spent a lot of time in the archery shop back then, worked there part-time for a little bit too, and, the amount of, like, families that we would see, like, come in that I knew for sure in a big city in Louisville, they were never gonna get that exposure if it wasn't for NASP, so, that's just, like, my personal experience with it, but yeah, I think it's, like, the most wonderful program, so yeah, and I'm really, like, super pumped that we do such a good job. Lisa does such a good job of it here in our state, so we're really blessed for that.
that's really great. I have a 3-year-old daughter. I would love for her to do something like that someday. That'd be super cool.
Mhm.
Although I should stop saying things like that because if I followed through with all the things, I'm like, I really hope my kid gets into that. We're gonna be really busy parents.
Yeah,
If she actually follows through with all the things, I'm like, "Yeah, she should do that." We're gonna be in trouble.
that's great.
Uh, so, okay, let's put some future hats on for a moment. And if you because I like asking these kind of questions. Let's say money was no object, right? And you got to create a new program in Kentucky to help novice hunters, and you could do whatever you wanted to do. What would you want to do to create a program to help new hunters to get involved?
Well, first I have to say that this isn't my idea. This came from, like, our R3 strategic planning, but I loved it so much.
That you just got to
So
own it. You're the first one to say it on a podcast, so
no,
you know.
Imma give a shout out to Jimmy Woods. He's our small game biologist in Kentucky, but I think that, if we could team up and, teach so, like, s COVID and dogs were, like, this whole thing, right? Like, everybody got a dog, and they were,
Yeah.
like, obsessed with their dog and all this stuff.
Uh,
I think that if we could get, like, a squirrel hunting, training class, like, but to use your dog regardless of the breed, like, train your dogs, let's get out in the woods and see if we can squirrel hunt together.
yeah,
In the fall, I think that would be a wonderful opportunity, 'cause you can take big groups of people, so it's more of, like, a community experience, and we can take our man's best friend, so our dog's with us, and I think, that would be what I wanna see happen.
that would be super cool.
Yeah.
I I would love to see a chihuahua out there,
Well,
hunting
right?
squirrel.
I think, like, too, like, of course, like, you got mountain curs and Feist and all the traditional, like, squirrel dog breeds, but, I think it'd be really fun to just have people out working their dogs and enjoying nature together and that sort of thing, so
Yeah,
it would be
that would be
dog
super cool.
related, though, for me. Yeah.
What's that?
It would be like, regardless of the program, like, for me, I would want it to be dog related,
Yeah,
so mhm,
that'd be really cool. So,
yeah.
if you could fix one thing nationally about how we introduce people to hunting, what would it be?
That is a great question, Jay. If I could fix one thing. I wish I could just wave a magic wand and have, like, an unlimited resource of mentors.
Mm,
An unlimited resource of, like, good mentors that wanted to take people hunting. Um, I think there is an I don't there's no research on this. This is just my experience. So if you don't agree with me, I totally get it. You don't have to. But I think there's this idea for like adult hunters that have been doing it for a while. Like we need to take kids, 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 kids. and I think it leaves behind the adult onset hunters a lot too. I didn't have that experience because I had a brother that wanted me to go with them, but I can see how other folks potentially do, so I wish I could wave a magic wand and just get a bunch of mentors that were good to take other adults hunting.
It's unlimited mentors.
Yeah,
Yeah,
which we have, we just need them to sign up and do it.
yeah,
Yeah, we have a lot of hunters, we just need you to sign up and do it.
yeah, it's a challenge. When I was working with IHA and it was like a primary part of my job to push learnhunting.org, and, uh, in my mind, I was thinking this is making it really easy for a mentor, right? Because they can turn their availability on, they can turn their availability off the map, they can say exactly what they want to mentor. I'm like, "We're just gonna be overrun with mentors." Like, I mean, that's probably saying something more about my disposition. I'm just, a dangerous optimistic. I can't claim that phrase, but, um, I've heard before, you can be dangerously optimistic, but it wasn't. It was not the case. Man, I've worked really hard to get them, especially in those initial, few initial year, really trying to get as many mentors as possible because we kind of had like um, we really didn't want to go live until we met a certain threshold. And I was thinking, weeks, and it was not weeks. it was it took a while to find those mentors, but it's all balance. It's tough, right? Especially young families or families in general. Yeah.
Mhm. I thought of another one,
Okay. What is it?
probably better answer. We can still leave the other answer, but this one I'm gonna rank above it because I
It's
thought
okay
about
to
it
fix 2 problems, you
more.
know?
Okay. Um, that's
Yeah.
access for hunters, for sure. It's something that we're really trying to work hard on in Kentucky. As you split the state, or the states, if we're looking at the Southeast in general, it's just mainly private land. There's just not a ton of public land opportunities if you look statewide. Now, Kentucky, um, we're adding properties all the time and trying to provide like new access for novice or new hunters, but I think we're 95 or 96% privately owned in Kentucky. Our properties are, so, you know, math. That's not great. We got
Yeah.
less. Yeah. So, that would be another thing I would kinda change, and, I'm hopeful that there'll be, like, other public land opportunities that aren't owned by Fish and Wildlife, but, like, parks and stuff that maybe we can work out some hunting opportunities on those, but that all comes with its own set of obstacles too, so
Yeah. Yeah, no, we on this podcast, we've had a lot of conversation about access and how, like, it would take a magic wand, you
yeah,
know, to fix because it's not just, "Okay, let's secure new land." It's you needing political buy-in, needing the money, needing that, it's just, it isn't it is an answer, it's a solution that is much easier said than done. Not that it's not worth fighting for, though. I think there's a lot of states actively working to improve access. There's a lot of NGOs that are working hard to, secure further access. So, yeah, it's a worthy cause, but it's a tough one. I'm glad that I'm not a guy that is like I depend on feeding my family through securing access, additional access for hunting, although it is a critically important job. So for sure.
yeah,
Yeah.
and I think to that point too, I need to share this, but for, like, novice like Megan, if you're interested in deer hunting and anybody else that's listening, um, there states may not have, like, tons of access properties, like, by you, they should have some, but they may not have what you would consider opportunities that way, but we probably have ad other opportunities that you're not, like, aware of or looking for. Like, in Kentucky, we do a ton of quota hunt opportunities, and so that'll be like modern firearm hunting on wildlife management areas that traditionally, like, for the rest of the season, only allow archery hunting. So there's opportunities for access in that way too that I think I definitely want to mention to the new hunters out there too. So
For sure. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Absolutely. Well, thank you for taking the time to be on the Evolving Hunter podcast. It was great catching up with you. It's been, we said before we hit record here, it's been a long time. So it's great to sit down and have a conversation with you. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Jay. Appreciate you.
Absolutely. Thank you. If this episode resonated with you, please share it with someone that maybe who's thinking about getting into hunting, or maybe someone who you want to get into hunting with. I'd also love to hear from all of you who are listening. If you have questions or comments, please send them in at community. That's COMMUNITY at evolvinghunter.com. Any questions that you send in, we'll answer on the show. And we'll, as you could tell from this show, we give a chance for our guests to weigh in on their thoughts as well. And if you want to follow along, please make sure that you're subscribed to the Evolving Hunter podcast. We're on Instagram and YouTube at Evolving Hunter Podcast, all one word. We've got loads of more conversations and hunting stories coming, along with practical conversations about skills, ethics, and what it takes to grow as a hunter. So please follow along with us. Until next time, stay safe, stay curious, and keep evolving. I really hope you enjoyed that episode of the Evolving Hunter podcast. One last thing before you go. If you're thinking about getting into hunting, before you go and buy gear or plan a hunt, you need the right foundation. That's why we're so excited to be partnered with CertifiedHunter.com. They have state-approved online hunter education that teaches real-world safety, ethics, and responsibility, not just test answers. If you want to start hunting the right way, head to CertifiedHunter.com/evolvinghunter and get certified today.